Greetings, fellow fans. My name is This is the Western Podcast. We are coming off of a incredible victory, maybe the single most impressive win that I have ever seen out of UNLV football, probably in the history of the program. At least, I've only been alive. I'm 28, so at least definitely in my 28 years of life, the UNLV football program was able to go against a pretty good Fresno State team. At least that's what people thought coming into this game. Fresno had some pretty impressive performances, including taking the University of Michigan down to the wire in the Big House. Fresno had an impressive performance against New Mexico State. They looked a little shaky in their game against New Mexico, Dampier, New Mexico's player. And I also think they didn't look awesome against Sacramento State. But essentially, an unbelievable day for UNLV, an unbelievable day for UNLV athletics. I hope that my mic isn't too bad. I had a situation where I lost my mic, essentially. So I apologize if the sound's a little off, but I just felt it really important to get going for the Rebels, to have a good little live post-game show. I did just get home from the game. There was a little bit of traffic on the way home, but I'll talk about a few things first. So the first thing I want to say is that the crowd today at this game, it wasn't as big as I was hoping. Like, I was hoping there would be more people in attendance. It's saying posted attendance is 24,638. I think it was higher than that. I don't think that is the correct attendance number. I think it was closer to 28,000, 27,000. But I'll have to wait for official confirmation on that. I was a little disappointed in the amount of people that came. What I was not disappointed in is the crowd's performance. I think that there's some times where a crowd has to be taught, how to cheer on third down, when to cheer, when not to cheer, when to give your offense some quiet so that they can operate at a high level. But overall, it was an excited crowd, a crowd that was into the game, a crowd that loved this program. I'm hoping by the end of the year we can get consistently above 30,000 people per game. That would be my hope. I think that it's possible to do that. But couldn't be more proud of the crowd. I thought that the crowd was excellent today. Everybody was just happy the whole time. And, when your team puts in a performance like that, it's hard not to just have a big grin on your face. So let's go through some of the stats of this game. Hodge Malik Williams. Now, look, I don't want to spend this whole podcast crapping on Matthew Sluka. Obviously, the Sluka storyline was one that took over college sports for a while. It was pretty impressive, how much national coverage that UNLV got. And I'll be interested to see kind of what the TV numbers are for this game, because clearly there was an interest in UNLV football this week that has never existed before. Did UNLV make the right choice by staying in the Mountain West Conference because of this game alone? No. It doesn't mean that they made the wrong choice either, but it's hard to feel upset about where UNLV football is right now based off of today's performance. If you guys have any comments, go ahead and leave them in the chat. I'll read anything out that anybody wants me to say or talk about. If you want to even come on the show, I will send you a link so that you can come on the show with me if you have your computer. Essentially, I thought the crowd was good. I thought the environment was good. The players were clearly very hyped. My favorite moment of the day was in between the third and the fourth quarter, when our team walked from one end of the field to the other end of the field, transitioning in between quarters. There was just like a full out dance party. It looked like they were going to like a fashion show. Brennan Marion looked iced out, like crazy, and it was really impressive. I was a really big fan. I thought that mood was just like, it was very business-like. I want to talk about the team next before I get into the stats, actually. Ricky White, right now on the post-game media stuff, he basically grabbed the mic and said, y'all need to give our offensive line $100,000. Let me call Circa CEO and see if we can get that $100,000 from our offensive line. And that's hilarious because it's just trolling Matthew Sluka. I wouldn't say that, I don't think Ricky White had anything personally against Matthew Sluka. I mean, maybe their relationship wasn't as good as it could have been. But clearly, Ricky White, is happier with Hajj Malik Williams. And looking at his stats today, Ricky White finished with 127 total yards, 10 receptions, 2 touchdowns, and also a scoop and score on a punt. So just an incredible day by All-American Ricky White, our best player. Good to see him happy. He looked pretty frustrated the first 3 weeks, especially, week 1 and week 3. Week 1, UNLV was just trying to get in there, get a Power 5 road on the win and a Power 5 win on the road and then get out of there. But in week 3 against Kansas, Ricky looked pretty frustrated out on the field. And it was just nice to see Ricky White smiling. It was nice to see him happy and joyous. And so absolutely thrilled with Ricky's performance today. He's clearly the leader of this team. And I think that Hodge and him are kind of, Ricky's clearly the leader, but Hodge and him, I think together is a leadership combo that really could take this team to new heights, to new levels. And so Ricky White, 127 yards, 10 receptions, absolutely beautiful day. Jacob DeJesus had 2 receptions for 50 yards. He also had 1 called back that I thought was kind of baloney. But again, I was really, really happy with Jacob DeJesus today. He finished with 50 yards total, 2 receptions again, but he had a great punt return. Jet Thomas had a one catch for 4 yards. And that's pretty much it for receiving. I hope we get to see guys like Casey Kane and Damian McDaniel. But I think that our receiving core definitely did its job today. I hope that we can get the ball spread around a little bit more, but the more times Ricky White touches the ball, the happier that I'll be. And so ultimately, all these other great players that we have, they'll have their time. Ricky White's, I think that Fresno State made a big mistake. They trusted their corners to cover Ricky White one-on-one a little too often. In fact, I was sitting there in the arena and I was saying, Dad, they're one-on-one against Ricky White outside. He's going to torch this guy. I was like, oh yeah, they are. And then you just see Ricky White ran a little slant route and got a touchdown out of it. So I think Fresno made some grave errors today strategically in how they decided to cover, Ricky White. And so great performance from him. Again, Kaleo Balangai finally had a touchdown. He had a 17-yard reception. Really happy for him. He's one of my favorite players on the roster, 6'7", tight end. Love him. I think he's just a fantastic guy. I was a little disappointed in some of the blocking performances by him earlier in the year, but big fan of him. I hope that he continues to feature as a weapon in our offense. Going to the rest of the team, let's look at the rushing. So Hajj Malik Williams was our leading rusher, averaged 9.9 yards per carry, a touchdown, and 119 yards on 12 carries. Couldn't be happier with Hajj Malik Williams as a rusher. If we're just looking at rushing, player comparison, is Hajj Malik Williams a better rusher? Is he better at running the football than Matthew Sluka is? I actually don't think so. I actually still think Sluka is probably a better runner than Hajj Malik Williams is. The Hajj Mahal, Hajj Mania. However, because Hodge can also throw the ball better than Matthew Sluka could, I think that opens up the field a lot more for him. And so while, one-to-one comparison, Matthew Sluka might be the superior rusher, and that's a might, by the way, I think that because Hodge can also throw the ball, that opens up the field a lot more for him. And I think puts him in a really good position. So Hajj Malik as a rusher can do just about everything Matthew Sluka can do, 95% of it. And he adds a whole nother passing dynamic. I'll get to that in just a sec. Also rushing, Kylan James had 58 yards, 11.6 yards per carry. Jaden Thomas with 7 carries, 30 yards. Greg Burrell had 8 carries, 24 yards. But again, Burrell had a run called back that would have given him another 40 yards. Devin Green, 3 carries, 10 yards. And that was kind of the big rest of the rushers. Looking at the UNLV passing game, so Haji Malik Williams basically played a perfect game. He finished 13 of 16 completion, 182 yards, and 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. The Rebels had no turnovers in this game. Meanwhile, I think they forced 5 interceptions. I want to make sure that I get that. So we had interceptions. I don't see that. Okay, yeah. So UNLV had 4 interceptions, one from Jonathan Baldwin, one from Jeremiah Vessel, one from Jalen Catalon, and then one from Cameron Oliver. The UNLV secondary is scary. I mean, they're good, man. These guys have talent. Catalan in specific almost looks like he could, play at the next level. Tony Grimes. I mean, these guys are good, man. And then the UNLV linebacking core was also just excellent. Jackson Woodard had 8 tackles, 4 solo tackles, 2 tackles for loss. Just incredible. I mean, Jackson Woodard, I looked over to my dad and I said, man, Jackson looks like he is on just like the level of hype that Jackson Woodard looked like he had in that game was unbelievable. I mean, the level that he was just focused and also energized and leading. And Jackson Woodard being a senior is really sad. I mean, I wish we could keep him around longer. I think Jackson Woodard has a really good chance to play at the next level because he's just all world as a linebacker here at UNLV. So all credit to him. Want to make sure I cover all the bases. That's basically all I wanted to talk about statistics wise. If you look at Fresno State statistics, Mikey Keene had 316 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Their leading receiver was Ryan Sharp, I believe is his name. It was not Raylan Sharp. Sorry. It was not, as deadly of a Fresno offense as I was expecting. In fact, I would say that I thought Fresno was going to score quite a bit. But the UNLV defense really stepped up and shut them down. And so unbelievably proud of our defense. Our defensive line still, I don't always trust in, but I feel like our defense does a really good job of deciding when to blitz with the linebackers, when to bring pressure from the box. And honestly, couldn't be happier with the defensive performance. UNLV's defense might be better than the offense. And that's crazy to say in a Brennan Marion style team. And so proud of them. Looking other Fresno, I mean, Fresno just didn't look like they were in our league. I mean, I know that it's not going to be a direct comparison, but UNLV beat Fresno much harder and much worse and in more convincing fashion than Michigan did. That's pretty impressive, not going to lie. So what does this win mean for the conference race? One, we needed to beat Fresno in order to have a chance at making the conference championship game. This was a great first step. Now, there's a lot of games ahead of us, but beating Fresno was an absolute must in order to make the conference championship and stay alive in the conference race. UNLV, our hardest remaining games, we have to play at Utah State. I think that's a winnable game. At Oregon State, that game will not count against our conference record. The game versus Boise State on October 25th that's the biggest game of the year. Not that we'll be looking too ahead towards that game, but then we play Hawaii, San Diego State, and then at San Jose State on November 22nd. That's going to be a tough trap game because San Jose is pretty good. And so this win, because Fresno and Boise do not play each other this year, this win was an absolute must. In fact, I think it was more important because Fresno and Boise don't play each other to beat Fresno than even it was to beat Boise in the regular season championship. So this game was just perfect. The players were rallying behind our guys. Could not be more proud of the team. If Boise loses to Washington State tonight, I will be going live probably on Twitter, just to Twitter Spaces, just because I want to talk about that in the conference. Will this lead to a UNLV ranking? That depends. Looking at the AP top 25 right now, let me just pull that up just so I can make sure that we can see. It should. I mean, UNLV winning with this they were so convincing in this victory. I mean, they really should. So Ole Miss lost today. They'll stay in the top 25. They won't go out. Miami barely won. Trying to look, make sure, see who else lost. Did Oklahoma lose? I'm not sure if Oklahoma lost. I think what it's going to take, I think that it's going to take Boise State losing for us to be comfortably in the top 25. I think that's what it's going to take. I don't know that the AP is going to want to rank two Mountain West teams. Boise State's already ranked, so who knows? But maybe, with the national media kind of paying attention to us more this week, maybe that will lead us to a national championship ranking. Yeah, Oklahoma winning hurt our chances to stay ranked. That just did. I just don't know that there were enough losses and it's ridiculous because we probably should have been ranked instead of Boise. Like we should be at 25 right now. But like I get it. People have respect for the Boise program. Ashton Genty again is one of the best, if not the best player in college football. So I can't really blame anybody for not having us ranked. Sorry, for having Boise ranked instead of us. But UNLV really should be ranked. I think it might take beating Syracuse to do it. People will start to talk about how bad Fresno is now. That's going to be a fun little. That's going to be a fun little storyline. Kansas losing today to TCU didn't help either. Kansas's quarterback Jalen Daniels just looks like he forgot how to play football. And I wish Kansas was better. I still think Kansas is an unbelievably talented team, and that was a great win. However, Kansas not doing well probably hurts our chances, honestly. And so, I wouldn't expect. I don't think we're going to be ranked, and that's if I had to predict. But do we deserve to be ranked? Absolutely. Is there space in the top 25? I really don't know, but I hope that there is. And so, yeah, that's basically it. I said this was the most important game in the history of UNLV football coming into this game. And I kind of stand by that. I think that because of all the national media attention that was around our program, us showing out in this game was very important. And the guys rallying behind Hajj Malik Williams, Ricky White, basically, taking back over the team for Matthew Sluka. I feel bad for Matthew Sluka in a sense because I do blame his agent more than I blame him for that crappy NIL situation. I blame his agent a little bit. I blame Brennan Marion a little bit too. I don't know exactly what Brennan Marion said to Matthew Sluka, but I do know that there was some sort of communication there. I think Matthew Sluka thought he was going to get something and he didn't, but Hajj Malik Williams steps in. The players rally behind him. I think that there's a feeling like from the players, his teammates that he spent all summer with, that we never needed Matthew Sluka anyway. And to hear that and have to see that and to see this team be so good, I think if Matthew Sluka would have kept playing and being our starting quarterback, I think that honestly he would have been able to get any money he wanted. I think he played a bluff to try and get Barry Odom to pay him, and I think he lost. I think he could have been paid regardless anyway. But now we have Hajj Malik Williams, and the Hodge mania, as I'm seeing everywhere on Twitter, it's real. Hodge outplayed Mikey Keene. Mikey Keene has been universally respected as the top quarterback in the Mountain West, and Hodge Williams absolutely decimated him today on the field in terms of just a 1-to-1 comparison. So if you see videos of Hodge, like, this guy loves Vegas. He loves the community. He loves his teammates. He is so beloved by everybody in this program. And to see him be embraced by this team and by this city in this way just puts a smile on my face, because it really couldn't have happened to a better guy. And again, like, nothing is for certain. If UNL, so I'm seeing, Mr. Reno Hater, I believe, is commenting right here. So if Illinois loses, that could help us get into the top 25. However, I don't know what Illinois. Who does Illinois play this week? Does anybody have that? Can anybody put that in the chat? Because I just want to see if we're going to be ranked. I mean, this is I want to be in the AP poll, but I'm struggling seeing enough teams losing in the top 25 to get us in. So Illinois plays. Apologize. Penn State. Okay. So Illinois losing would mean that what are they ranked? 18th or 19th or something? Yeah, I don't know that Illinois, because Penn State is such a good team, I don't know that Illinois losing is enough to knock them out of the top 25. Um, and ultimately, with when it comes to this team, like because of the schedule that we have, we play Boise State, we still have to play Oregon State on the road. Because of the schedule that we have, if we go, 12-1 with a Mountain West Conference championship, that'll be good enough to get us in the playoff, I think. Um, Say we lose to Oregon State on the road, but otherwise we win the conference and we win out, the rankings really won't matter that much for us. And when the college football playoff rankings, yeah, they would. You're right, Vinny. They would probably have to be blown out. So Illinois and Penn State, it's 7-7 in the first quarter. So I think that Illinois would probably have to be blown out to drop out of the top 25 and give us their spot. We really needed Oklahoma to lose to Auburn. That didn't happen, sadly. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I would root against Boise tonight. I there's going to be hard feelings between the fans of the teams that are leaving for the Pac-12 and the teams that are or the Pac-7 or whatever. Um, yeah, Masked Rebel makes up a good point. I think with all that, so he says Masked Rebel, one of the UNLV legends, by the way. Go ahead and follow this guy. But yeah, listen, I'm a BYU grad, so I was not rooting for them to lose to Baylor. I do support the Cougars, unless they're playing the Rebels, of course, in which case all Mormons, real Mormons, we're rebels. We support the Rebels. But yeah, I couldn't. But Baylor beating BYU would have helped the Rebels this week as well, but that didn't quite happen. Baylor kind of choked at the end of that. But the Masked Rebel, I mean, one of the OGs of Love the Masked Rebel. It was a beatdown on national television with eyeballs turned towards UNLV this week. I think there's a pretty good chance. You're probably right. Maybe I'm being a little too pessimistic. Maybe we are ranked nationally. It's a very good feel-good story. Hodge Malik Williams. There's going to be video clips of him going viral on the internet. There's going to be reporting about him. And he's just one of the most likable people that I have ever seen in all of college sports. He just is. And actually, Cam Friel is too. I was really happy that we got a play where Cam Friel was able to complete a pass to Ricky White. As I've been very critical of Cam throughout his career at UNLV, and to see him do well, that makes me really happy. So good for you, Cam Friel. Yeah, we will leap the loser of Wazoo and Boise ahead, whoever. But I just don't know that, if Boise beats Wazoo, then obviously we're going to stay ahead of Wazoo. We're going to be ahead of Wazoo. But if Boise loses to Wazoo and Washington State goes in the top 25, then I think that they'll just have Washington State in the top 25. I don't think that they'll have us in the top 25. So ultimately, I don't think this team really cares about the top 25. I think this is more just for fans. UNLV has not played a game with a number next to our name in the lower part of the screen since February of 2013, I believe, is the last time that we were nationally ranked in either football or basketball. So it's been a long time. And I get that we're ranked in the coaches poll, but the coaches poll is, a lot of times it's filled out by assistant coaches, and it means something. Don't get me wrong. But the coaches poll is not indicative of the coaches poll is not indicative of being it's indicative of being a rank, but it doesn't put a number next to your name when you're playing on TV. Looking ahead, I mean, I have to do a lot of prep with Syracuse. I'm going to try and get on. So Vinny asked about Syracuse. Syracuse next week is going to be a legitimate team that we'll have to take very seriously. This game, because it was a revenge game against Fresno, the players there was no problem with focus or being amped and being excited to play. I think that this team has absolutely no issue with that. And I think that they'll be focused next week versus Syracuse. But you have to realize that Syracuse, you look at their schedule this year. I believe they were ranked earlier in the year before they lost to Stanford, because Syracuse beat a ranked Georgia Tech team. They actually played Matthew Sluka's old team, Holy Cross, today and won 2-14. But I haven't had a ton of time to watch Syracuse. I know that Cal McCord, their quarterback, is excellent. It's just a really great player. And so we're going to have to be on our toes in order to get Syracuse next Friday. But what I would tell to you guys is be at the game on Friday night. Why would you pay exorbitant, hundreds of dollars to go watch the crappy Raiders and Gardner or Minshew? Just saying that name out loud makes me kind of sick. LaQuint Allen is their RB. Yeah, Vinny, I'll have to do some research on Syracuse. I know that they're solid. They beat that Georgia Tech team, but Georgia Tech also was a little overrated because their first win of the year was against Florida State, and as we all know, Florida State is straight dog water, absolutely awful. So I wouldn't put too much stock in any team that beat Florida State this year. But so it's going to be seen. It's going to be, we have yet to see how good this schedule is going to be. But what you need to know, Rebel fans, is because of this game and because of our 4-0 start, we have all of the cards in our hand. If we win out, we go to the college football playoff. Even if we lose one game, we go to the college football playoff. We have to win the conference, and we have to beat Boise in the conference championship, probably, or whoever. I doubt it'll be a team besides Boise making the conference championship, but we have to beat Boise, and we have to win the rest of our games. The only game we could lose and still go to the college football playoff is probably at Oregon State. This is a tough place to play. They're a good team with history. I've really enjoyed the interaction that I've had with a bunch of Oregon State fans this week. Guys, obviously I was very publicly in favor of us going to the Pac-12. Do I think we made the wrong decision by staying in the Mountain West? I do. I still think it was a smarter decision to go to the Pac-12. But I will say that, if you saw my tweets, I was too reactionary. I thought that it was unequivocally the worst possible decision in the history of humanity, and that Eric Harper needed to put his letter of resignation out, on a desk. And I still disagree with the decision. Don't get me wrong. I do. I still think it would have been a better decision to go to the Pac-12 than stay in the Mountain West. However, I can see the logic behind why Eric Harper and our athletic department did it. One, the Mountain West has Gloria Nevarez, who is, currently offered Texas State to join the conference, which I think is a strong expansion candidate. Big school with a lot of money and a lot of excitement around athletics. Yes, Houston. If you're looking, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt myself, but Houston playing right now against Iowa State. Rebel fans, we are all Houston Cougars fans. We need a Houston win. That would make our win against Houston look better, and it would also knock another team out of the top 25. Also, holy Alabama, Georgia. That's the biggest game of the year. But all I'm saying is UNLV is in a conference with a commissioner named Gloria Nevarez. The Mountain West Conference's commissioner is Gloria Nevarez. And while I wish we were in the Pac-12, what I will say is I trust Gloria Nevarez more than I trust the Pac-12 leadership. I trust the schools in the Mountain West more than I trust Oregon State and Washington State. And frankly, specifically Boise State and San Diego State, I don't get this feeling from Fresno or Colorado State at all. I don't have any ill will towards those fan bases. But specifically Boise State and San Diego State, they don't respect us. We have to beat them. San Diego State football is pretty pathetic this year. They suck, and they're more irrelevant in their town than UNLV football is in Las Vegas. But the Boise State people, they don't respect us. They don't think that. They think we're a flash in the pan. They think that we're just, they beat us in the Mountain West Championship game last year. They've been running the Mountain West and the Group of Five, really, although not as much as you think in the last 10 years. Boise has been a very good Group of Five team, but they have not been what they were from 2000 to 2014. I think that there was something like, we don't want to sit in your shadow, Boise. We kind of want to go make our own legacy. And so while I wish we joined the Pac-12, I think that there's a legitimate chance that the Pac-12 just kind of explodes. They add Sac State, and they're an 8-team conference, and then in 2 years, Oregon State and Washington State end up leaving for the Big 12 or something. I think there's a legitimate chance of that. There's a legitimate chance that the Mountain West and the Pac-12 just end up merging together anyways. The Pac-12 needed Las Vegas as a travel hub. They just did. The biggest issues with Oregon State and Washington State, and even to a lesser degree, Boise State, it's travel. Those cities are not super easy to get to. The flight options in and out of those cities are difficult. It makes Olympic sports very tough. And while, when you're negotiating a TV deal, football is really the only thing that matters, a little bit of basketball, but mostly just football. Those Olympic sports mean a lot to those other, the athletic directors of those programs. Memphis didn't join the Pac-12 because, Olympic sports, it doesn't make sense to have a nationwide conference if your media deal is not going to be enough to justify it. Even schools like UCLA and USC that joined the Big Ten, they're struggling because of the travel. It's really hard on programs. So ultimately, I think that UNLV, if Utah State would have stayed in the Mountain West, it would have made the decision even more, justifiable. But I disagree with the decision, but I respect it. I was a little too harsh on Harper. I was too harsh on Matthew Sluka. I'm reactionary. I am. I'll admit it. I make some mistakes in the takes that I make. So I hope you guys know that when you hear me tweet something or you see me tweet something, the time that I tweeted it, I will tell you exactly what I'm thinking. Obviously, I try not to cross any lines, but I'll tell you exactly what I'm thinking. And I don't delete tweets either. I'll leave them up, even if I prove, even if later I am proven to have been incorrect. I will leave my tweets up because I'll stand by what I say. If I'm going to be reactionary and not be a fence sitter and really say what I'm thinking, I have to be able to stand by what I say. And so, Jackson Woodard right now is the front runner for Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year. He's a beast. I made a joke that he must have done a whole bunch of drugs or something because he looked like a man possessed tonight, or this afternoon, I should say. So anyway, I'll just say that, I apologize. Sometimes my comments are a little inflammatory, but the only reason that I can do what I do and I exist, we have just about 150 people watching this live, and many more will watch it later, is because I have to be able to provide content that sets myself apart. If I come in here and I just am a milquetoast fence sitter all the time, telling people whatever I think they want to hear, then my content doesn't really mean anything. But I am proud to be a Rebel fan. I'm proud today to be a supporter of Hajj Malik Williams and these guys. I'm proud of Barry Odom. I hope that, with this buyout money that we're getting from the Mountain West Conference, let's make Barry Odom the highest paid coach in the group of five by like a lot. Let's make him as high as paid as some of the lower Power 4 coaches. Let's give this man so much money that he cannot leave. And I think that that's ultimately the goal. I think that's what this athletic program is going to do. And so proud to be a Rebel today. For the Fresno fans generally aren't too bad, so I don't want to dog on them too much. But take an L today, guys. Hope you have fun in the Pac-12. Love it. It's great. And that's basically all I had to say today, guys. So I will get this uploaded on my podcast feed. If Boise State loses tonight, I will do a Twitter space talking about it with everybody, invite people on. Again, if you guys want to come on to, I want to make sure, I don't know if I got any. If you guys want to come onto this show ever, you want to come on your phone, or bring on your camera, I am more than happy to bring on any Rebel fan to the Let's Run podcast. This show is done solely to provide good stuff for Rebel fans to listen to. I will not take money for this show unless I can do it to get travel expenses paid for so I can go to more games. That's the only reason I would ever take any sort of sponsorship on this show. This show's just for the fans. This show's just for, I've got no interest in, this is not a career for me. This is just because I love the Rebels and because I love Las Vegas, and I appreciate all of you. So have a great Saturday night. Spend it with the people that you love. Give your parents a hug, give your kids a hug. And maybe tonight as you're saying your prayers, thank God for Hajj Malik Williams. And Coach Hurst coming in here at the end. What do I think about UNLV beating one of the Pac-12's flagship programs? That feels pretty good, not gonna lie. It felt good to smack some dudes around that are going to the Pac-12. So thanks, guys. I will be live again tonight, hopefully. Go Cougars. I'm rooting against Boise State tonight. We kind of want them to lose. And yeah, let's run, Rebels.